And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. For those thinking of buying an electric vehicle, now may be the perfect time if you live in the Houston area. A new study shows the average price of a used electric vehicle has dropped by nearly, get this, 30% over the past year. But there's a reason why some drivers are reluctant to make the switch to an electric vehicle. My next guest explains why. And joining us on The Factor Uncensored tonight, we have with us Carl Brower, who is an executive analyst with IC Cars. And Carl, it's our understanding the price of electric vehicles here in the city of Houston has gone down, but many people are concerned about electric vehicles, right? Maybe there was a time where they said, you don't want to get a used one. For those who are concerned about getting a used vehicle first, that may be an electric car, because you think about the cost of a battery and all of that. Your thoughts on that, first of all, or is that we're just overthinking it?
No, it's reasonable. I mean, the battery is the most expensive part of an electric car. And if you're buying a used car and you're trying to save money, it doesn't seem to make sense if you buy one and suddenly you have a really expensive component that has to be replaced, right?
And what's the average price of a battery, Carl, if you could guess?
I think if you're lucky, you might get one for below 10, and it's possible you'd get one for between 20 and 30, depending on the car and the battery capacity.
Got it.
And, you know, if that's a big number for you, and I think that's a big number for almost anybody.
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind is that all batteries in all electric cars, and actually in hybrids and plug-in hybrids too, are required to have an 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty on them. So if you're buying a used car that's less than 8 years old and has less than 100,000 miles, and it's an electric car or a hybrid car, the battery should have some form of coverage. And, you know, maybe you don't want to buy one that's at 90,000 and it's 7 years old, but if you're a 5-year-old car and it's got 50,000 miles, if that battery is bad and it's about to go bad, you're going to be covered and you're going to have some level of coverage and protection on it.
Got it. Now, when we take a look at the prices here in Houston, and you say those prices have gone down, by how much?
Yeah, a lot. So, you know, we've seen electric vehicle prices dropping nationally, and right there in Houston, they're dropping like 28%, which is equating to almost $12,000. And this is just, you know, over the last year. So the average used electric car was, give or take, $40,000 a year ago. Now they're around $28,000. And the average non-electric car was around $31,000, $32,000. And this year they're around $31,000, $32,000. So they've held almost stable for the average gasoline and even hybrid vehicle. But electric cars have dropped, and they are now less expensive. They cost less than non-electric cars on the used market.
And of course, you're always wondering, why is the price so low? What does that mean, Carl?
It means there are too many electric cars for how many buyers there are. You know, as always, price is determined by supply versus demand, and there's plenty of supply and not that much demand for used electric vehicles. And I think it makes sense because new car buyers, they're not as price sensitive. Maybe they want a certain style of a car, a certain performance, or maybe in this case, they want to make a statement and be doing the environmental thing. Used buyers are much more cutthroat, okay? I have to find this thing of a good value. And if it's not a good value, I'm on to my next consideration for a used car. And a lot of them are not going to be swayed by the electric technology. If anything, they might be worried about things like battery costs and dealing with charging it. So you have to actually give a discount now over a traditional car to sell an electric car to a used shopper.
Wow. And so are the dealers coming forward with those discounts?
I think so. I mean, that's what we're seeing. When we looked at all these cars, we looked at millions of cars, and we're seeing pricing for used electric vehicles below used gasoline cars. So the dealers are realizing what's going on with the market, and they have to price accordingly.
Now, when we think about driving distance and the mileage you can get out of a single charge, is that still a big issue for people, and the availability of charging stations around this country?
100%. And I think that's what really is at the top of mind for people. They know that when they buy an electric car, they have to have a place to charge it, whether it's in their home or whether they have to use the public infrastructure. And a lot of people who live in multi-unit housing, condos, apartments, they don't have a home charger. They have to depend on the public charging network. And when that vehicle is, you know, effectively out of gas, quote unquote, it's not a 5 to 10 minute process to fix that and go to a gas station. It can be a 30 to 3 hour process or more, depending on what level of charging you've got and how big the battery is. So it's a whole different lifestyle. And for plenty of people, electric cars make a lot of sense. They're perfect for their lifestyle. Some people they're not perfect for. And so you really have to understand that before you make that jump.
All right. Carl Brower, IC Cars Executive Analyst, thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored with the latest on the electric vehicle market. Always good to see you, sir.